I am Andrew McGugan, father of Robert McGugan, son of Robert McGugan. I'm from England. I was born in Watford, which is the northwest of London, but we traveled around a lot when I was a child. Yeah, so my dad was an officer in the R.A.F., and um, it was typical for the sons of officers of the R.A.F. to be sent to boarding schools. So before I was old enough to go to boarding school, which was 8 years old, we had already been posted in two different overseas posts. The first one was in 1960, was to R.A.F. Geilenkirchen in Germany, which is actually where my sister was born. We were there for a few years, and then we came back to England. And then my father was posted to Oslo in Norway, and that's the earliest I really remember. So we were there for 2 years, from 63 to 65. So that was the kind of positive side. The negative side was that, we were moving probably every 2 or 3 years. So you would live somewhere, you would make friends, and then you would say goodbye and you would never see them again, because they were probably children of R.A.F. officers as well, and they would be sent somewhere else. So yeah, it was difficult. So, I've always struggled really thinking of where is home for me, because we've lived in different places. We lived in Norwich. My brother was born in Surrey. I was born in Watford. We lived in Norwich for a few years. My dad was posted there. Obviously, we lived in Germany, Oslo, and then eventually he settled. He had a posting at R.A.F. Biggin Hill while he worked in Whitehall, up in London. So once he retired from the Air Force, we bought a house in Biggin Hill, and that's where we kind of stayed. So from probably 1968, I would say. So I was 9 or 10 years old. Biggin Hill was probably the most I think of as home, and we had a couple of houses in Biggin Hill. Yeah. Son of an R.A.F. officer meant some crazy, amazing things. I once got to go with my dad to Westminster Abbey because they were sort of launching or commemorating a Battle of Britain window that had been, stained glass window that had been put into Westminster Abbey. And so we were he was one of the few living veterans at that time. We got a kind of front row seat, and I was kind of across from Prince Charles, who was all up in his uniform sitting there. So, that was an amazing experience that I had with my dad. We used to go to air shows with my dad, and he'd be meeting up with other veterans and just sitting and chatting with them and just watching that. I wish I'd talked to him more when he was alive. I learned more since he passed about what he did than I did, and I'm not sure he liked to talk about it. I'm very proud of my father. My father is a veteran of the Battle of Britain, and he actually became a career officer in the R.A.F. So he actually saw through the whole war, survived an incident where most of his squadron was shot down. That's hard to talk about. I still choke up. But he made a good career out of it. But there were a lot of men that didn't survive.